Okay, good evening. My name is David Cashman. I work at SEB Housing. You know us by now. This is the lottery for the affordable units at Medford, Hanover, Mystic River. So congratulations on getting this far. As you know, this is not the end of the process, but certainly getting yourself into the lottery is a great first step. I know that the application is demanding. There's a lot of documentation that's required. So nice work getting the documents in and getting yourself into the lottery. I'm going to wait just a minute here. We're just coming up on 6 o'clock. So I want to wait and see if a couple more households join. In the meantime, for any of the households that are already watching, are there any households who do not know their lottery number? If you do know it, that's great. Please don't tell me. It's better that I don't know. But if you forgot it or you're not sure, please type something in the dialog box and I'd be happy to look it up for you. All right, I don't see anything in the dialog box, so I'm going to take that to mean everyone knows their lottery application number, which is great. All right, so it's 6 o'clock now, so we'll move forward and perhaps a couple more households will join. But again, this is the lottery for the affordable units at Medford, Hanover, Mystic River. I'm going to just start by giving households a little bit of background because I imagine some households may be curious about, the waiting lists and how many households applied and trying to kind of get some sense of what the field looks like. So let me give you some of that information now. And then we'll talk about next steps. We'll talk about the waiting lists and when I'm going to send you those. And we'll also talk about what happens after I've generated the waiting lists and after I've sent you the waiting list. So as you know, there are 35 affordable units in this development. And those units, I think, are already ready or will be very soon. Those 35 affordable units come in different bedroom sizes. There are studio units, there are 1-bedroom units, 2-bedroom units, and 3-bedroom units. Households may have only applied and been eligible for one of those. They may have been eligible for 2, 3, or 4 even. I don't know, but you will be on a waiting list for every bedroom size that you applied and were eligible for. So if you applied for the studios, the 1s and the 2, you will be on several different waiting lists. So let me just go through what those waiting lists are. There will be 6 different waiting lists. The first is for the studio units. There are 3 of those. We had 11 applicants. Okay, 3 studio units, 11 applicants for those. The 19 1-bedroom units, there were 27 applicants. Now recall the 1-bedroom units had a local preference attached. So households that qualified for local preference, meaning they lived in Medford, worked in Medford, or had kids attending the Medford schools, will get priority for those units as compared to households who do not have local preference. Again, that's for the 1-bedroom, the 19 1-bedroom units. Okay, let me just pause here. I have my first question from Shirley D about her number. Let me just see if I can look you up here. Shirley? Shirley, did you apply? I don't have anything under Shirley. What's the last name? Sorry, DeRusso. Got it. Sorry, everyone. Just trying to look this up. Shirley, did you get a notice from us? I'm not seeing you in the database. I don't see anything under DeRusso. DIRUSSO. Oh, here we go. Shirley, I'm sorry to inform you. It looks like you got a ineligible notice. So I'm showing an ineligible notice. I don't want to kind of hold this up longer, so I'm going to ask you to pause I'm going to do the lottery. If you want to hang out after and we can talk about it, I'm happy to do that. So let me move forward now. And if you want to talk more, please hang out after and we can go through it. Okay, so that was the 19 one-bedroom units. There are 5 two-bedroom units that have a local preference attached. 47 applicants for that list. Now recall, households who qualify for local preference and households who don't qualify for local preference will be on that list, okay? And they'll also both be on the two-bedroom list that doesn't have local preference attached. I know that seems a little weird and almost not logical, but that's how it works. It just means that for 5 of the two-bedroom units, households who have local preference will get priority. Once that list is exhausted, the management team will start inviting from the other two-bedroom list, which is the open list, for the other 6 units. But so let me just go back to the two-bedroom local list. 5 units, 47 applicants, 24 local preference households. There is also a two-bedroom list that does not have local preference attached. Okay, so for that list, it doesn't matter if you have local preference or not. There will be 6 units on that list, 47 applicants, because again, all 47 applicants, whether they have local preference or not, will be on both of those two-bedroom lists. Okay, they'll be on both of those 2 lists. And so for the two-bedroom open pool list, 39 type 2 and type 3 households and 8 type 1 households. Same for the local list. Okay, 39 type 2 and type 3 households and 8 type 1 households. There's also a two-bedroom disabled accessible unit list. There's 1 unit, 3 applicants. All of them were type 2 or type 3. And finally, there's a 3-bedroom list, also disabled accessible priority. 1 unit, 29 applicants. 3 applicants indicated they needed the features of the unit, so they'll be the top 3 on the list, followed by everyone else who did not need the features of the unit. Caitlin, are there any local preference applications for studio units? There's no local preference attached to the studio units, so there may be, but it doesn't matter because there's no local preference attached. There's a lottery night handout that I will send to you tonight that has this information, so don't feel like you have to scribble it down or try and memorize it or go back and watch this again, and it'll have more details than I actually just covered right now. So if you're curious kind of about the 6 different waiting lists, how many people were on each, how many people had local preference, how many didn't, how many were type 2, how many were type 3, etc., you can look at that. Again, you don't have to know that information. That's just more for any people who might be kind of interested in the breakdown of people that applied. So when we do the lottery drawing, which I'll do soon, there will be 2 drawings. There'll be first the drawing for the households who qualified for local preference. I'll put them in the lottery box. Okay, fancy box here. Shake it up. I'll pull them out one by one. I'll hold the note cards with the application numbers up to the screen as I draw the numbers from the box. And I also need to make note of it and write down as I go. So I'll move as fast as I can, but bear with me. I have to, draw them, keep them organized, and make note of it at the same time, and make sure it shows on the screen. So it may not go quite as fast as you like, but I will certainly try my best to get through it. Now, so there's a question, are there any local preference applications for 1-bedroom units? Good question. Yes, there are 7. There were 19 of those units, 27 applicants, 7 households said they qualified for local preference. Okay. So hopefully this doesn't come as a surprise. I think I covered in the info session and it's in the materials, but as I draw the numbers out of the box, okay, you're going to be watching, you're going to be saying, what does this mean? The answer is you don't know exactly. I don't know exactly. Nobody knows exactly. And the reason we don't know is because you don't know what any particular number, what bedroom size they applied for, what household type they are, whether they have local preference or not. So it's a little anticlimactic. It's obviously better to be picked earlier rather than later. That's absolutely true. But as I'm drawing it, you can't say, this household was picked number 5, they must be number 5, because you don't even know what waiting list that person applied for. Okay, and similarly, a type 1 household who applies for a 2-bedroom unit, which they can do, they don't get priority as compared to type 2 and type 3 households. So you don't know, maybe a number gets picked, but you don't know what type they are. So they may be a smaller household type applying for a larger unit, and they'll get skipped over on the waiting list by the larger households who applied for that same unit size. So, I have to do a sorting of the lottery results to create the waiting list. That will happen after the drawing. Okay, it'll happen in the next few hours after I do the drawing. Now, those waiting lists will be organized. The 6 different waiting lists, they'll have everyone's lottery application numbers, and they will be in order, chronologically, top to bottom, in order of priority. But those waiting lists need to be approved before I can send them to you. And we expect that that'll happen by February 8th. So I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit more waiting. I know people are probably anxious for answers and want to move forward, and we want that for you too. But we do need to get the waiting lists approved, and so I won't be able to send those to you until about February 8th. If I can do it any sooner, I will. So what that means is that there is going to be a little bit of limbo where you don't know for a couple more weeks exactly where you are on the waiting list. Now, I will send everyone the lottery results list, and that's purely the order that the numbers were drawn in the lottery, which we're going to do momentarily. But again, that is not the waiting list, okay? That's not the waiting list. So I'm going to send these to you tonight. I think virtually everyone in the lottery has email, so I will email it to you in the next few hours. And that's sort of for your own edification to see where you were picked on each list. But it's not, I repeat, it is not the waiting list. So please do not look at that and say, hey, I'm number 5 on this list. That means I'm number 5. That is not what this means. It's purely just to give you a sense of where you were picked. You will not know where you are on the waiting list until I send them to you in February. And I've made a big note of that at the very top of what I'm going to send you. So hopefully there isn't any confusion. And I will send those to you tonight. So let me just see. There's a couple questions that have come in. So K Marcus, how many days will it take to notify winners? Again, so that'll be in February. I'll send you the waiting list. And please just remember, everyone, there aren't any winners and losers. Everyone will be on a waiting list for units that they were eligible for. That information was in your lottery application letter and number that we sent you when we said, hey, you're eligible for the lottery. So if you were eligible for 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, you're going to be on several different waiting lists. Okay. And again, you'll get those in February. Lisa, do you pull out the numbers while we watch? Yes, I do. And again, I'll do it just like this. I'll hold the numbers up to the screen. I also have to write them down so I keep track of everything. And then this evening, once we conclude this, I will sort them according to the different priorities of the program to create the waiting list. Carla Coco, I didn't get a lottery number. Let me look here. Carla, I'm sorry. It looks like you were also in our ineligible list. So if you want to hang out after, I'm happy to answer questions you have. But you don't have a number because it looks like you weren't eligible for the lottery. Now, for any households who are watching who may fall into that category, okay, if you were ineligible because you didn't submit the required documentation, you could still, after the lottery households all have a chance, you could apply with the leasing office to get on the waiting list behind the lottery households. Again, that's if you submitted an incomplete lottery application, and that's the reason you're not in the lottery, as contrasted with someone who submitted a complete application or a semi-complete application, but was maybe over income or under income or something like that, who's just not eligible for the program. That's a different story. But if you're not in the lottery purely by virtue of the fact that you didn't submit a complete lottery application, you could still apply directly with the leasing office after the lottery households to be put on their waiting list. Maybe you get a chance to move forward in the near future or at some point in the future. Okay. Let me just see if there's anything else I should cover before we go ahead with the drawing. I think that's it. Are there any other pressing questions before I move ahead with the lottery drawing? Let me just say too, you're going to get the waiting list in February. Again, everyone will be on a waiting list for a household size that they were eligible for. There's no winners and losers. This is not the end of the process. Households still need to apply for a lease with the leasing office and go through lease screening. SEB Housing has not done a lease screening with any household in this lottery. Okay, we don't look at your Corey if you have one. We don't look at credit. We don't take landlord references. We don't do any of those things that most landlords typically do when they're deciding if someone is eligible to rent a unit at their property. So there is still that big step. That means that even if you have a top position on a waiting list that you're going to get in February, please don't immediately tell your current landlord that you're moving out because you're number one on the 2-bedroom list and you're so psyched and you're moving in. You may apply for a lease and it's possible you won't be eligible. I hope that doesn't happen. It does happen it does happen and it could happen, and it would be, a shame if you gave notice and then all of a sudden you apply at the property and they say we're really sorry you're not eligible. So please keep in mind, this is a big step. We'll create the waiting list. There's still a whole nother step of applying for a lease, okay? Don't give your landlord or make any permanent plans until you've gone through that step and know that you're lease eligible. Also, if you have a top position on a waiting list, the leasing office will be in touch with you after we finalize the waiting list in February. They'll start inviting households to move forward to apply for leases. There will be time limits associated with that. They can't hang on to these units forever. So pay attention to those, those invites when they say you have to come in by to complete a lease application. Be a shame if anyone missed those, invites and the deadlines and lost their waiting list position on account of it. So just make sure that you respond to those. Similarly, if you don't have one of the very top positions, please don't despair. It's always possible that some of the households ahead of you may not end up renting a unit for one reason or another. So your number still could come up, right? So if you're not in the, let's just say for the studio units, there's 3 of those, 11 households on that waiting list. Even if you're number 7 or 8, that doesn't automatically mean that you're not going to get a chance to move forward. It's possible households ahead of you will be on other lists. They'll reserve units from those lists. Maybe a household will change their mind. Your number could come up, okay? Okay. I'm going to answer these last 2 questions, and then I'm going to get going with the lottery drawing, because I'm sure households are anxious. And then if there are other questions after, I'm happy to stick around and answer them. Beatrice, how many 3-bedrooms are available? There is 1 unit, 29 applicants. K. Marquez, will those invites be by email? I don't know how the leasing office will reach out to households. I assume they'll do it by email and possibly also by phone. I can tell you that when we finalize the waiting list, we will give your contact information to them, and we will give their contact information to you so you guys can have each other's contact and link up for those next steps. Okay, I'm going to do the drawing now, and then after we've done the drawing, I will stick around if there are any other questions. Okay, so the first drawing is going to be all the households who qualified for local preference. Here's my local preference applicants. I believe there are 32 households. These have already been pre-shuffled, but I'm going to put them in the box. Okay, I will shake it up. Okay, here we go. First number, A.026. Next number, A028. A014. Next number, A072. Next number, A041. A049. A008. A059. A011. A071. A023. A054. A032. A027. A022. Okay, we're up to the 16th draw on the local preference here. A039. A080. A050. A017. A015. A042. A038. A074. A064. A078. This is the 26th number here. A024. A019. A020. A010. Okay, three numbers left. A033. A051. And the last local preference number to be drawn is A003. A003. All right. Okay, so that was the local preference drawing. I'm going to take all of those numbers. I'm going to mix them in with the other households who didn't qualify for local preference. Now I will do the general drawing. Again, this is going to be all 82 households who qualified for the lottery. Again, you don't need to be trying to, sort of track these as I say them. I'm going to send these to everyone tonight. by email, or if you don't have email, I'll postal mail them tomorrow, so you should get them in a few days. And again, just bears repeating, these are not the waiting list. These are just for your own kind of, if you want to see where you were drawn in the lottery, you get the waiting list in the next few weeks. Okay, so we're going to do all 82 households now. And then once I've done that, I am happy to stick around a little bit and take any questions. So let me just see if I can kind of shuffle these up a little bit. Note cards don't shuffle as easy as playing cards. All right, and I'll do the rest of it in the box. Here we go. Okay, this is the general drawing. All 82 numbers. A028. A040. A023. A032. A006. A009. A063. A004. A062. A022. A050. A038. A025. A034. A034. A055. A003. Okay, we're up to number 17 here. Number 17 is A013. A002. A067. A019. A068. A060. A017. A024. A057. A046. A030. A079. A080. A016. A073. A078. A031. A054. A012. A065. A001. Okay, that was the 37th household drawn. 37th household drawn. A039. A008. A015. A075. A074. A005. A049. A037. A071. A076. A064. A029. A053. That was number 50 drawn. That was number 50 drawn. This will be 51. A069. A069. A026. A048. A048. A061. A072. A052. A011. A027. A051. A010. A041. A035. A047. A020. This is going to be the number 65th number drawn. This is going to be the 65th number drawn. This is number A066. A077. A081. A056. A070. A058. A045. A043. A042. A014. Okay, just a handful left. Handful left. A007. A021. A033. A059. A044. A018. A036. And the last number to be drawn is A082. A082. All right, that concludes both lottery drawings, folks. So, like I said, I'm going to send the lottery drawing results around by email. I'll send those tonight. They'll look, more or less like this. Okay. I just got to type them up. These are not the waiting list, so please don't refer to them as the waiting list or think that that's, if you're number two, you're number two, because that's not what it means. These haven't been sorted yet. They haven't even been put on the 6 different waiting lists. These are purely the order that you were drawn. So please wait to hear from us with the waiting list. Again, that's going to be by February 8th. We appreciate your patience. We'll do it as fast as we can. That's going to be probably the quickest we can do it. So just ask for your patience. Calling SEB in the interim and asking where you are isn't, unfortunately going to get you anywhere, because I won't have, I won't have the finalized waiting list by that point. There are a number of households who will be getting communications from us between now and February 8th. Not every household, but some households. If you are one such household, please pay attention to those communications about certain documents that we need, and just read those and make sure that you respond if you're interested. And again, thanks for attending. I will shoot around the results tonight with some further information, and then we'll follow up in a couple weeks with the actual waiting list. I'm going to stick around for a minute if households have questions, and I can answer those. So let me just start seeing the questions. Arwa, I just joined. How will the lottery number within the 80 numbers proceed? Or what is the process moving forward? Arwa, I have to, so tonight I'm going to send around the order in which the households were drawn in the lottery. Okay, it'll look like this. This is the local preference list. This is everyone, all 82 households that were in the lottery. These have not been sorted onto the waiting list yet. These are not the waiting list, so please don't infer from them that you're in a particular position. That is not what these mean. These are purely where you were drawn. The waiting list will be sent by February 8th. It'll be all 6 waiting lists. It'll be chronological, top to bottom, in the order that households are going to get to move forward with the leasing office. Okay, so please wait until February 8th to get the waiting list from me. Okay, but I'll send you these tonight just so you know where you were drawn. Carla, I don't know the leasing office's number off the top of my head. Right now, you could reach out to them. They're not going to be able to put you on any list right this minute because they haven't even gotten the households who are in the lottery. But you could try and reach out to them to let them know you're interested and let them know that you'd like to try and get on their waiting list after they've sorted the lottery household. So that'd probably be after, sometime after February 8th. Okay, so you could reach out. Maybe they could put you in a database somewhere, but you will have to apply to get on their waiting list after February 8th. You cannot get on them right now. The best you can do is to let them know you're interested, and they'll probably tell you circle back after February 8th, and you can try and apply to get on the waiting list then. Lisa, is in the last drawing, if your number was called, does that mean you got a unit? Nope, I don't know where anyone is on any waiting list yet because I haven't done that yet. So for a number of reasons, I can't say that you got a unit because A, I haven't drawn up the waiting list yet, and B, nobody in the lottery has even proceeded to step 2, which is to apply for a lease with the leasing office. So there's still 2 things that have to happen before any household can probably reliably say that they're getting a unit. 1, we have to have the finalized waiting list, and 2, you have to apply and be eligible for a lease with the leasing office. So we're still a couple weeks out from any household being able to say that they're going to have a unit that they can rent for sure. Okay, Nicole, I am wondering, after we complete the leasing application, will we be pre-approved for the units we are offered by the leasing office? I'm not sure I totally know what you mean, but you will apply for a lease. If you're eligible, you can select from any of the available units that are available on the list that you've been invited from. And then you're setting a move-in date as you would with any other lease, and you're gonna sign a lease and probably put down a security deposit and first month's rent. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but hopefully it does. Okay, Jasmine, I am confused. What does it mean if your number was called? Okay, every household that was eligible for the lottery had their number called. And every household that's eligible for the lottery will be on a waiting list. There will be 6 different waiting lists for the different bedroom sizes. Because remember, there are studio units, there are 1-bedroom units, there are 2-bedroom units, and there are a couple different 2-bedroom unit lists. and a 3-bedroom unit list. I don't know which unit sizes you applied for, Jasmine, or what you were eligible for, but if you were just eligible for a 1-bedroom unit, then you'll be on the 1-bedroom list somewhere. I don't know where you'll be on that list yet, but you'll be somewhere on that list. If you applied for the studio and the 1-bedroom list and you were eligible for both, then you'll be on both waiting lists. You'll probably have different positions on those 2 different lists, but you'll be on both lists. Every household was called in the lottery, and every household will be on a waiting list that they applied and were eligible for. So that could be one waiting list, it could be several. It just depends on the applicant and what they were eligible for. Okay, Marcus, when you're on a waiting list, how long can it take to get a unit? Is it possibly years? Well, it depends where you are on the waiting list. If you're higher up, it's probably a matter of, moving in within a couple months. It also depends which unit you select. I imagine not all of the units will be ready at exactly the same time. So you may say, hey, I want the unit that's, available right now, or you may end up selecting a unit that's going to be ready later on. If you are not one of the top households that gets to, or let me say it again, if you're not able to lease one of the available units, in the initial lease up on your waiting list. So let's just say that let's just say hypothetically, you applied for a studio, you're eligible for a studio. There are 3 of those units. There are 11 applicants. You end up 10th on the waiting list, and the 3 units get rented by households who are higher on the waiting list than you. Then you still keep your waiting list position, right? So going forward, in 2 months from now, if a household who wasn't in the lottery goes to the leasing office and says, I want to get on the waiting list for the studio unit, they'll be behind you. When your turn may come up to rent a studio will depend on the 3 households who rent those units and how long they stay in them. So it could be a year, it could be years, hard to say. Kalina, if your number was called twice, what does that mean for you? So that means you must have had local preference. And so households who have local preference do get called twice. The kind of weird thing is that for the 2-bedroom units where there is a local list and an open list, households, there are 47 applicants, and whether you're local or not, you'll be on both lists. It's just that for the 5 local preference 2-bedroom units, households who have local preference will get priority over households who don't. For the 6 2-bedroom units that don't have local preference, there will be no priority. It'll just kind of come down to household type and where they were drawn in the lottery. I know that's a little convoluted, but basically it's not an accident that you were called twice. You'll be on the waiting list that you were eligible for, and it sounds like you'll have local. If you applied for a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom unit where there is local preference, you may get an advantage based on your having local preference for those units. Okay, so Lisa, so I'm sorry, I have another question. You called a lot of numbers in the 3rd drawing, so what does it mean then? I thought if your number got called, I thought that meant you got a unit. Okay, so wait a sec. So there's only 2 drawings, right? There's the local preference drawing and the general drawing. Again, every household who's eligible will be on a waiting list that they're eligible for. I haven't made those waiting lists yet, and they're not going to be approved until February. So you're going to have to, I'm really sorry, but everyone's going to just have to be a little patient and wait to get the waiting list. Every household will be on a waiting list that they're eligible for. The waiting list just establish an order of priority of households that are going to get to move forward and apply for leases. Okay, so it's not a guarantee. Nobody is guaranteed a unit at this point, right? Even if you're number 1 on the list, you're not guaranteed a unit. You're only guaranteed to have the first opportunity to apply for a unit, but you may not be lease eligible. So the waiting list established the order of priority moving forward to apply for a lease. That's what they do. They don't guarantee anybody a unit. They don't guarantee that anybody's not going to get a unit. It just depends what happens with the households on the waiting list, right? So the first household on the waiting list for, let's say, a studio unit is going to have that first opportunity to apply, and if they're eligible, select from the 3 studio units. That's all that means. Okay, K. Marcus, how do you know if you're a top household? You won't know till about February 8th when I send the waiting list. There'll be 6 waiting lists. Everyone's lottery application numbers will be on there. You'll be able to find yours on the waiting list that you're on. Let's say you applied for a 1-bedroom unit, so you'll look at the 1-bedroom waiting list and you'll say, okay, I'm number 10 on the 1-bedroom waiting list, or I'm number 20, or whatever it is. And that's how you'll know. But you won't know until then. Okay, you will not know until February. And again, these sheets that I'm going to send, this is just the order you were drawn in the lottery. These are not the waiting list, so you won't know from this. Lena, my number is 48. If you want to, well, if you were in the lottery, you would have been. I'm going to send this, Lena. I'm going to send the results tonight where the numbers were drawn. So I'll send it to everyone by email. You can check where you were drawn. I don't know if you had local preference or not. If you did, you'll be on both of these. If you didn't, you'll just be on this one. Okay? Lisa, I applied for a 2-bedroom. Okay, Lisa, I don't know what that means yet. I haven't made the waiting list. So I do not know where you're going to be. And I can't give you a final answer where you'll be on the 2-bedroom until February. Okay, so like everyone else, you're going to have to wait till then. I'm sorry, I wish it could be sooner, but that's the soonest we're going to be able to do it. Fran, what does priority mean? Okay, well, there are different types of priorities. So there's, for all of the 19 1-bedroom units, and for 5 of the 2-bedroom units, the city wants households who have local preference, who live in Medford, who work in Medford, who have kids attending the Medford schools, to have priority for those units, meaning they want them to have first chance as compared to households who don't have local preference. Okay, notice I just named the 19 1-bedrooms and 5 2-bedrooms. That's only 24 units. The other 11 units, there is no local preference. So for the other 11 units, it doesn't make any difference whether you have local preference or not. Another type of priority is that for the larger unit sizes, like the 2-bedrooms, let's just say, households who are appropriately sized, meaning they need 2 bedrooms, those would be households who maybe have like 4 members, just as an example, will get priority, will be higher on the waiting list than households who would be overhoused in a 2-bedroom unit, like a household who's just 1 person, okay? So on the waiting list, on the 2 bedrooms, type 1 households will be behind all type 2 and type 3 households. It doesn't matter where they're drawn in the lottery, because the program says a type 1 household, for example, a 1-person household, trying to live in a 2-bedroom unit is overhoused. They shouldn't get that opportunity unless and until all of the bigger households who need 2-bedroom units have been given opportunity first. Okay, so those are some of the priorities that we have to implement. Similarly, the 3-bedroom unit has disabled accessible features. Any households who need those features will get priority as compared to households who don't. And there were 3 households who said that they needed those features and have provided documentation showing that. So those 3 households will be the top 3 on that waiting list, followed by the other 26 who said, I want a 3-bedroom, but I don't need the disabled accessible features. Lisa, it's really confusing. Who won? Yeah, nobody won and nobody lost. I think you gotta, unlike other lotteries where there are winners and losers, and unlike other lotteries where, you kind of know right away what it means, this is different, okay? There are no winners, there are no losers. There are 6 waiting lists. Everyone will be on a waiting list for a unit size that they were eligible for. You may not be in the top position on the waiting list. You may not even be in one of the top 10 positions on the waiting list, but you'll be somewhere on there if you were eligible for it, okay? And so, but again, you're not going to get those waiting lists for a couple more weeks. And when you get the waiting list, it'll just tell you, okay, this is the order. If you're number 6 on the studio waiting list, you know that there are 5 households who are going to have the opportunity to try and rent one of those units before your turn comes up. The dream, is it too late to apply for the lottery? Yes, it is. Sorry. There was another household asking earlier. Probably by February 9th or 10th, you could reach out to the leasing office and ask to get on their waiting list. But prior to then, there isn't a whole lot that we can do for you. So that's what I would recommend. If you're interested in this opportunity, reach out to the leasing office by about February 9th or 10th and say, hey, I missed the lottery. I'm interested. Can I get on your waiting list? Any other questions? Any other questions? All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm going to send you those, the order that households were drawn tonight, and I'll send you some other information. Please read what I send you, because there could be there's important information in there. Kaylina, what credit score is typically required? Good question, and I don't know because we're not the leasing office, Kaylina. So that's a question that, after we create the waiting list, if you get invited forward, you're going to have to ask the leasing office about that. But I do not know. Sorry. So yeah, I will send the order that households were drawn in the lottery, as well as some other like a lottery night handout with information to everyone tonight. Take a look at it. If you have further questions, feel free to follow up with us. And again, we'll get you those waiting lists in February, and then you'll be off to the next, many households will be off to the next step of applying for a unit with the leasing office. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.